All right, let's talk about California and why I moved out after 14 years of living there. And I believe that California politicians are pretty dangerous. It's kind of scary if they get elected on a national level, although probably the politicians themselves are not. They're just enacting, or they're just representing the voters. So if anything, if you have to lay the blame on anybody's shoulders, I'd probably say California voters are the biggest problem, the biggest culprit. So what do I mean by this? What's the problem? Um, Cost of living is terrible. They created like a political system to where you have this like awful, like you have like an awful mother, overbearing, paternalistic, hyperbolic, neurotic mother. She's like literally a bit insane or batshit crazy. That's how I describe their, like, the political vibes there, right? Everything is seen through oppressor oppressed lens. If you're a developer, if you're a business owner, if you're trying to like just build up the city, trying to do it the proper legal way, you're the oppressor, you're the greedy capitalist, you're the rich person, and everybody else is your victim. So you have to be regulated, you have to be stopped from doing anything. Um, so cost of living, yeah, the whole city is permitted as a single family zoned area, which is it should be. I mean, if they claim that they're so green and environment, you know what I mean? They're so green and they care about the environment so much. Well, you know what's going to like be beneficial for the environment? The California high-speed rail, instead of people flying or taking the car, right? But all the environmental regulations get in the way of them building out that line. So it's like doesn't make sense. Why can't you just trash the environmental regulations for stuff that you know is going to be green, right? Same thing. It's the same exact thing as for building. Any person with $60 can stop an apartment building from being built. How crazy is that, right? Back in the day, she was the opposite, right? You have to spend your money suing somebody, right, to stop a big project. But here, just file some kind of petition or whatever, right? You could take a giant multi-billion-dollar project. You can put it on hold, like what? Because the small guy, that's the victim, right? So. And the big developer that's trying to lower rents for everybody, that's trying to create more supply, they're the bad guy. Back to the green point, California, LA area, down to the San Diego, that's like the best weather in all of America, basically, right? Or some of the best weather in the entire world. So think about that. There are millions and millions of people that want to live in that area, and then it would be much greener for them to live there because they spend so much less energy on heating and cooling their apartments or dwellings, right? So this should be like a giant metropolis, skyscrapers everywhere, way more, not all these like single family residences, just big buildings with tons of people. There's tons of people stuck in Missouri or Kansas City or whatever that want to live in this big metropolis. Think about all the synergy of all the people connecting, creating technology companies, just making businesses, how much more of economic impact and how much economic growth you can have. You have just LA as such a bigger, more densely populated area, right? But according to their politics, is we're quote unquote we full. That's their motto. We're full, which is, yeah, of course you're full if everything is just those tiny little crappy little stucco houses. They're built erected in the 1930s. They're only meant to be like a stepping stone, right? They're entry level homes. They cost $1 million now because they're just like sticks and stucco, right? They're supposed to be bulldozed and bigger buildings, more dense buildings were supposed to be put into place, but everything is frozen in ember because heavens forbid anything changes. They're the real conservatives, right? They're the ones that are afraid of change. Heavens forbid Miss Mary Bobo, her backyard gets a shadow cast from like a giant building. I'm sorry, but I mean, it's like we're full. They don't want, they're okay with Hispanic immigration from south of the border. They're cool with that, and they want to encourage that. But those people, those new immigrants, they need to move somewhere else to other American cities. Well, American citizens that should and want to live in like this big developed metropolis, they can't live there because the rent's too expensive. Yes, they can get paid more money because they'll have like a higher paying job. Jobs pay more in LA, but 80% of your rent is going to be eaten up by, or 80% of your salary is going to be eaten up by the rent. It's not, and you're rewarding like the worst type of investors too. Not like somebody spent their whole life savings on this ambitious project to build this amazing building. No, you have the opposite, complete opposite. Some random person, Joe Schmo, that happened to buy, like a single family house in Hollywood 40, 50 years ago. Well, now they're raking in $8,000 a month just just for the sake of it, just because they were lucky. It's not like I had like this like genius business mind, like forethought or whatever. They just got locked out, so those people are getting rich, and then they're skimming off the top of the entire economy. In San Francisco, tech pays a lot, but all the tech salaries just goes to rent from the original incumbents, the people that bought there a long time ago. So it's just a ridiculous system overall. Building on this oppressor-oppressed narrative that they got going on there, basically the homeless people are sacred. They're the oppressed, while everybody else is the oppressor. So you can't possibly, like move there, camp, or tell them that they can't camp here, or you can't set up an open air drug market. The police can't throw away their shopping cart. They can build like a tree house. They can build a village. They can buy RVs and just put RV, even though you're not allowed to park your own RV on your own property, in your own driveway. They can buy an RV and just park it on the street and just dump urine, all sorts, start a scrap bicycle, start a scrap recycling business, next to the RV, which is a giant mountain of just like scrap metal. Would look so bad, like why do people want to live? Nobody wants to raise kids around that. Your kid's gonna be running around stepping on syringes and stuff like that. That's awful, right? So what about what about everybody else? What about externalities, right? If you're into rock music, if you're into band, you're into playing instruments, well, the noise, might disturb people. You might not be able to, set up a drum set anywhere you want. But if you're homeless, you can do that. You can just set up your tents, set up your like homeless village with your local drug dealer or whatever serving you. You can panhandle and you can steal the electricity from the light pole. That's totally cool. The police is not going to do anything about that. The police is gonna give you a jaywalking ticket, but if you're homeless, they're taking a dump in the middle of the street, well, they don't want to deal with you. You get caught. They don't want to put on their gloves and try to apprehend you. Like, they don't want to get that stuff all over themselves, so they just turn a blind eye to that. Restaurants, like if you're just like a street vendor, you can put your cart anywhere, just do anything you want, basically. I like those street vendors. I love their tacos and everything. They're great people, they're delicious food. But but on the other hand, if you try to do everything the right way and you actually pay a rent for like a commercial space, well, good luck trying to put a couple of like little tables and little benches in front of your restaurant so people can eat out there. I mean, you're gonna get all sorts of harassment from the city code enforcement. Things like that. It's all, it's just so backwards there, really, So yeah, as the state loses population due to their affordability crisis, they are losing electors from the electoral college or what have you on the national stage, and I think it serves them right. If your policies are just destroying your state, people are actually having to leave. Maybe you should have less influence on the national stage. Only makes sense to me. Later, guys.